Listen up, get ready, I'm not gonna take no more. There's a revolution, a revelation going on in my soul. Buckle up, get ready, we're not gonna sit.
Hey, we're back with more Live from the Heartland for the week of July 6th, and the Olympics is getting close, and I always think about my good pal, a good friend of the Live from the Heartland show, Gordon Thomson, who I met when he was coaching over there at Loyola before he went on to DePaul, to Clemson, various other places. He's now back home living and helping take care of his mom in Newark, Delaware, and he's been teaching high school, and he's now on the summer break. And it's good to see you, Gordon.
Hey, Michael, nice. Thank you very much for having me in at Heartland at Home and back on WLUW, university I cherish well. Loyola University is fantastic university.
Well, we're also on Lumpen Radio now, too, and CAN TV, and all that was at the opening. But Loyola's where I met you. I remember seeing you in the swimming pool. You were training a woman who was going to the U.S. Olympic trials for the marathon, I believe. And somehow it all came down where we got to be close buddies. And those people who've been listening or watching this show for a long time have heard you go on and on about various sporting events and a little politics. So let's hear it today. You wanted to talk somewhat about a guy named Brooks Johnson, who I just learned about, was quite an important track and field figure. Tell us a little bit about Brooks Johnson.
Yeah, I want to make a small little tribute to Brooks Johnson, who was a great track and field mind. And I've shifted to this hat because Brooks always wore a hat at track meets in the bright sun. Born in Pahokee, Florida, Pahokee, which is a small little town on Lake Okeechobee. Very little happens in Pahokee. So he, like other brilliant minds, said, I got to get out of here and go to a great university. He went to Tufts and became an excellent track and field athlete at Tufts. So as an African-American from the backwoods of Florida going to Lily White Tufts University up in Massachusetts, a big change. He made a mark for himself pretty quick. And after getting a degree at Tufts, he went to the University of Chicago Law School, right on the south side of Chicago. And it was at U of C, in his law school, he met Ted Hayden, the great track coach, and he's continued to compete in track and field. And he made the 1963 Pan American Games in the 4x100 relay. He started out as trying to make it in the straight 100-meter dash, but he had to go to the 4x1. That was also run with a great Chicagoan, Ira Murchison. You guys may remember that name, a Southsider.
I saw him run at a University of Chicago track meet when I was a much younger guy.
Ira was a phenomenal human being, not just as an athlete, but as a gentleman and as a man of the 1960s, which is pretty tough for an African-American. Well, Brooks, after his time in Chicago, he went to Washington, D.C. to start a government job with his law degree. And at that time, he still had track and field in his blood. So he started coaching at a prestigious high school called St. Albans High School, which is he had a very famous person on his throwing the discus by the name of Al Gore threw the discus for Brooks Johnson at St. Albans. But more famously, he produced a world setting track star in the name of Larry Shipp, was phenomenal in the 110 hurdles. And that really put Brooks on the map as far as coaching. Larry Shipp was just a true smooth technician in the 110 hurdles. Soon after that, Brooks realized that there was very few opportunities for women on the East Coast before track and field scholarships were around. So he, along with Freddie Thompson in New York City, my dad in Delaware, Jack Griffith and Frederick, Maryland, started this Eastern Track League for women, the only opportunity for women to compete at that time before scholarships were around for women's track and field. So phenomenal opportunity of orchestrating and organizing, as well as being a great mind and driving things forward. He went on to Stanford University, where he had a phenomenal women's cross country team. And that team won the NC2A championship. Here's a black male coaching an all-white women's cross-country team from Stanford. And his famous quote is, "My bourgeois babies do not get beat." So it unbelievable chutzpah. And he really did kind of alienated a lot of people in his tough talk. He was a no business type of coach where if you couldn't handle brusque language, or if you couldn't handle being challenged right to your core of your being, he had no place for you. So I'm wearing this hat, and I want to bring up when he was inducted into the College Coaches Hall of Fame. He came onto the stage wearing a hat like this, and he said, "Thank you very much for this honor." And then he went into a tirade of berating the committee for not electing Ed Temple, the greatest black coach in the history of college coaching, to the inaugural Coaches Hall of Fame. Ed Temple was a superstar. East Tennessee State Tiger Bells. And he had YMU Tyus, Wilma Rudolph, and countless other Tiger Bells that went on to set gold medals and set world records at the Olympic Games and so forth. Ed Temple, a true icon. And Brooks fought for him, said, "You guys screwed up. You guys screwed up. You should have had it down on the first class that Ed Temple deserved." So Brooks was a family friend of ours. Everybody in my family, all 5 brothers and sisters and mom and dad, everybody knows and respects him. And it's a dear loss that we lost Brooks Johnson this past weekend. As he was an assistant coach at University of Florida, I was as a freshman on that team. He called me up in the stands and read me the riot act of how my dad would not want me to be wasting his hard-earned money on this my tuition to the University of Florida with that piss poor performance that I just put out on the track. And then he went on to say, "And another thing, get away from me, you stink." And it was true. I had just run a race, old t-shirt. I did stink. Yes. So here's a tribute to Brooks, and phenomenal man, challenged a lot of people, challenged the system, and God's gift to coaching, God's gift to the 110 hurdles, and God's gift to really women's track and field.
Did Ed Temple ever get into the Track Coaches Hall of Fame?
Yes, they realized their mistake and they put him in probably in the second or third class. But yeah, the damage was done. And Brooks let him.
Okay, Gordo, let's switch to the Olympics, because that was what motivated me to get you. I always like talking to you, you know that. But we got an Olympics coming up in a very short amount of time. I'm sure you, as well as I, have been watching the trials on the TV wherever we could see them. And it's getting harder because they charge you for Peacock. So I just watched the NBC, and I'm looking for you to talk a little bit about the Paris Olympics past and about to happen.
Hey, Paris, this isn't the first time that Paris has hosted an Olympics. It's the city is a host, not a country. So it's an awarded to a city of Paris and in Los Angeles in 2028. Paris previously hosted the Olympics in 1900. It was the second Olympic Games after Athens in 1996. At that Paris 1900 Olympics, probably not much is done. More happened the 1924 Olympics. That's where the Olympic motto was adopted: Citius, Altius, Fortius. Faster, higher, stronger. That was adopted. And also the movie Chariots of Fire was depicted from the 24 Olympics of the great sprint rivalry in the 100 meters between Harold Jacobson and so forth. And that movie was put, maybe that's only people's attention to track and field was that movie. A little bit true, most of it not true. But also the first times that there was dormitories in the Olympic Games. So 2024 was it. Hey, what's going to happen in 2024 is a lot of great action by American track and field athletes. Noah Lyles is going to try to win 4 gold medals at one Olympic Games. Hey, Jesse Owens already did it, but not in the 4 events that Noah Lyles is going to try. Jesse Owens did it in the 100, the 200, the long jump, and the 4x100 relay. Noah Lyles is going to try to do it in the 100, the 200, the 4x1 like Jesse, and then a different event, the 4x400 relay, which is the longest sprint out there. And it's going to make a little bit of politics because Noah didn't run in the 400 in the preliminaries. So he really should not be on the relay pool. But if you're on the Olympic Games, anybody is in the relay pool and can be selected. So also in that relay pool is a little hotshot from Bullis High School. The 16-year-old is
Maryland.
Yeah, from outside of Washington, D.C. He is going to be in the relay pool. And that little guy, if we can hold on to the stick all the way around the track, he's going to be a gold medalist as a sophomore in high school. So still.
What's his name? Quincy
Wilson. Yeah, good memory there, Michael James. Yeah, you still got it, bro. Yeah, Quincy Wilson, 16-year-old sophomore from Bullis.
Yeah, he was pretty exciting to watch when he won the first heat, and and then he got into the finals. He didn't win in the finals. I think he was 4th, or maybe even beyond that. But
he was 6th place overall. So, but that did put him in the relay pool. Means that he's going to run that 4x400 relay in the preliminary rounds, in the heats, and maybe the semifinals, and then they're going to run our 4 best fastest in the final. That should have places.
So if they get a medal, does he still get one?
He does.
Yeah.
He does, since he would have been competed in the preliminary rounds. Up to 2 extra athletes can be awarded medals in that. So
what else?
Exciting. Hey, that ain't it for the U.S. We got a Shore Gold and Grant Holloway. If he can stay standing over the last hurdle, he's going to win and perhaps set a world record in that 110 meter hurdles. We got our women's sprint star, our darling Sha'Carri Richardson, who we love, and in the 100 meters, and she'll also be on the 4x1, and also. World record set at our Olympic trials by Sydney McLaughlin in the 400 hurdles. She's unrivaled. It's unbelievable what she can do. She might be on our women's 4x4 as well. So it's also pretty exciting. It's going to be a little bit of a dominance on USA at the world scene with the reduction of Russian in the Soviet Union. Russia is still expelled as a country from the Olympic Games. They will not be represented. Individual athletes will be competing under the Olympic flag, and that's it. So, and one more highlight, Anna Hall in the women's heptathlon, movie star looks. Unbelievable grace, being counseled by Jackie Joyner-Kersee, who's our past Olympic champion in the same event. Watch out for her. She's going to be in some movie, somehow, some action, some big deal somewhere down the line.
Gordon Thomson, let me ask you, going back to the earlier Paris Olympics, like 1900 and 1924, were women allowed to participate then?
No. There were no women at the first games for the women weren't until after World War II. I want to say 1956 and stuff like that. And the longest event for the longest time for women was 800 meters. It was thought that women could not handle endurance events. And it wasn't until 1984 that women had the marathon. And Joan Benoit won that first inaugural marathon for women. Yeah, no, it's been pretty male dominated and pretty oppressive. International Olympic Committee has not been known for being on the right side of politics.
Who else from around the world might we be paying attention to? Some people outstanding participate. I used to always root for the Cubans, and they were prevalent a lot. I don't know if they are quite as much these days, but
In what sport did you root for the Cubans?
any sport.
Boxing. That's where the Cubans really held sway, was in their
Yeah, they did.
boxing. And hey, Muhammad Ali, I think, had to go up against a Cuban when he won the Olympic gold in Rome, 1960. And that's where he met Wilma Rudolph, and he fell in love right at first sight with her.
I didn't know that story.
Oh, yeah, smart guy. Cassius Clay at the time was no dummy when it came.
So, any challenges? Like I've been following this a little bit, and there's some question about the cleanliness of the water of the river that they're going to run events in. I wonder about that. And also, we see France kind of tilting to the right with the right wing taking the first round of the elections this weekend. Not a great thing to have happening from our point of view.
Hey, the president of France, Macron, he's in deep doo-doo on two fronts. Politically, of calling this rash election, what it looks like the right is going to pick it up. And that was kind of a rash election that he didn't have to call this election. It was just a reaction to the European Council vote, European Union, which his local French vote went far to the right. And he said, well, we're going to make a snap election. Well, that's one doo-doo. The other doo-doo is he said he's going to swim. Him and the mayor of Paris are going to swim in the Seine to prove it's clean. Well, everybody, all the local Parisians would say, take a dump now in the Seine so he can swim with whatever we got in normally. Hey, they put $1 billion into trying to clean up the Seine River for the Paris Olympic Games. That's where the long swim is going to be. That's where the certain events are going to be held in that river. And it's got to be clean for the safety of the athletes. Well, the E. coli levels have been off the roof. They have been those that are what is in fecal matter, or just as doo-doo, as we all say. So E. coli is a very, it's not good for you. It causes intestinal distress, and it's a real poison. So
Do you remember?
good luck.
Do you remember when you and I were canoeing up there from by the Baha'i Temple? We canoed all the way down through the locks and into North Pond for about 8 hours of rowing or paddling. But they're going to have a race in the Chicago River this year. And I don't know how clean it is, but some people have asked me if I'm going to do it. I don't have shoulders that work, but I could do a side stroke. Yeah. And I don't know if it's clean enough. It wasn't that clean when you and I paddled down it.
No, it sure wasn't. I think we saw a couple floating dead animals. At least we hoped they were dead animals and not humans. We didn't know. That was kind of a sketchy time at that. But yeah, the Chicago River could be cleaned up if they open the locks at Skokie, let some fresh lake water run right through into the Chicago. It could be cleaned up pretty quick. But I wouldn't want to swim in that.
Well, we'll see. Well, let me, another thing that you always bring up, and it's something I can't watch on the TV unless I sign up for the Peacock, is the Tour de France. And it's the premier bicycle race in the world, I believe. And I know you keep track of it. I've watched the ending of it a few times on the TV. Talk about that one, Gordo.
Yeah, I really fell in love with the Tour de France since my own athletic days were over. And I'm just a good, big fan of the three big endurance bike races, which is the Tour of Italy, the Giro d'Italia, and the Tour de France. And then lastly is the Tour of Spain, the Vuelta a España. The Tour de France is the kingpin of those three. And that brings out the best in the world for endurance bike riders I basically ride around the circumference of France. This is going to be the first year in a long time that the finals, the last day, the 21st day, is not going to be held in Paris, France. Why? Because the Olympic Games is going to be in Paris, choking it all up. So it's going to finish in Nice, down on the Mediterranean, a very nice town, with an individual time trial. Hey, it's going to be looking like last year's champion and who won 2 years in a row, Jonas Vanegård from Denmark. He's not going to win for a third time. The Slovenian who won 3 years ago, Tadej Pogačar, he's the hottest shot in the world right now. But drama always happens. Crashes always happens. It's something else for 21 stages around the country of France that lasts over 2,000 miles. Yeah, I'm frustrated about Peacock and NBC, where you got to register for $50 a year to watch it. I'm not paying $50. I'm going to only watch the shit that's for free on TV. So I'm like you. I'm not going to drop an extra dollar or two, and I'll just bite losing coverage. I think it's there.
Yeah, I one time, I pay to have a cable so I can watch the White Sox and the Bulls, etc. And lo and behold, they had a game on Peacock. Talked about being irked. That really bent me out of shape. But I may be a little petty here. Now, you had a question for me, I understand.
Yeah, you know what? I want to question you on why you would want to be a White Sox fan. I got to first congratulate you on being a loyal fan for like 30, 40, 50 years. You have never given up on the White Sox. And that, to me, is a true fan. Through thick and thin, you've enjoyed their successes, and now they're the worst team in baseball, and you will not drop them. You've been through them, and I got to say, I got to give you a lot of kudos and aptitudes, but because you are what a true fan is that you don't give up on your team when they're losing. You don't give up on the ownership. You don't give up on the players, and you're eternally optimistic. Why do you think the White Sox are worth following?
Well, first of all, my roots go back to the Brooklyn Dodgers at Ebbets Field. And I was taken to a number of Dodger games, and the Dodgers always won when my dad and this client he had would take me to a game. So I was the good luck charm. But lo and behold, they took me to the Polo Grounds in 1951, and Bobby Thompson hit a home run. They read the sign from the scoreboard off of Ralph Branca. The shot heard around the world. The Dodgers lost the pennant. I thought I was responsible. And it wasn't until I went to the Super Bowl in New Orleans in '85 when the Bears won that I realized that jinx is off, and I really don't influence it anyhow. But I love the Dodgers so much. Jackie Robinson, Carl Furillo, you name them, Andy Pafko, Roy Campanella, Don Newcomb. These were my guys. And when they moved to Los Angeles, it really broke my heart. I kind of gave up baseball. But then I came back from Berkeley in 1966 to work in Uptown, organizing in a basically Southern white community. And Paul Booth, who was one of the leaders of Students for Democratic Society, he took me to a White Sox game. And I just sort of fell in love with the White Sox. I liked Bill Veeck, he brought in Larry Doby as the first African-American player with Cleveland Indians in the American League. And I just liked Veeck. And later on, I liked the shower in the outfield. I thought of the White Sox as the working man's team, that if you were a Cub fan, you had to either be rich to take the day off or retired to go to a game. I also went to a Cubs game and I had my shirt off and they made me put it back on. That's back when I would take my shirt off in public. And I just basically fell in love with the White Sox, and I've been through them, for many, many years. Now, the last 2 years have been a challenge, and I'm no longer a big fan of the owners. But, and he owns the Bulls too, but I think he's a Democrat at least. I don't want a new stadium. I think they got a stadium that we're still paying for. And I think that they're a better team than they've showed. I think our pitching's been good. Our bullpen is getting better. We've had a number of Cuban players on the team, which I like. And I also know that a number of our best players have been injured. A lot of our games have been lost by one run. We have been winning going into extra innings. So I have faith, and it doesn't really matter. I don't know all the names of all the new guys. I couldn't give the name of the manager anymore, probably. But invariably, if I'm not watching Blue Bloods on a Wednesday night when it runs all the time, I'm watching a White Sox or a Bulls game on whatever channel that is called. By cable, I'm paying for it. Are you rooting for the Orioles these days?
Well, in my backyard is the Philadelphia Phillies, so they got the. I'm not a loyal fan, in that I'll go with just hopping on the bandwagon.
You're a White Sox fan, I know. Okay, Gordon.
Always.
It's been good, and I'll ask you next time why you're a White Sox fan and why you're loyal. But I'll see you soon, and it's great talking to you.